Sonny Melendrez, Sonny Radio, SonnyRadio.com.
Hello, it's Sonny Melendrez, and welcome. This is the positive side of the radio spectrum. Every week, we strive to bring you entertainment and inspiration through storytelling, fascinating guests, exclusive celebrity interviews, and it's all delivered with lots of enthusiasm. And I cannot wait to introduce you to my very special guest today. But first, we're brought to you by Ideal Precision Roofing in San Antonio. You know, recently I spoke to Larry Lehigh. He's a homeowner here in San Antonio. He bought his home 30 years ago and realized that he needed a new roof. And when he started talking to his neighbors, he found that two of them had actually used Ideal Precision here in San Antonio. And so he called some other roofing companies to get an estimate. But when he finally talked to the experts at Ideal Precision Roofing, he knew he had found the right company. And in fact, you can go to Ideal Precision's Facebook page to watch Larry's video testimonial, because nothing is more powerful than personal endorsement from someone you know and trust, your next door neighbor. And hopefully, I can give you some of that endorsement with what I found to be the case with Ideal Precision Roofing. So, if you maybe suspect you might have hail damage, or maybe your roof has seen better days, give them a call at 210-485-1553. That's 210-485-1553, or visit them at idealprecisionroofing.com and tell them that Sonny Melendrez sent you. And now, on with the show.
Sonny Radio, SonnyRadio.com, San Antonio.
My guest today is an internationally known, world-class concert pianist based right here in San Antonio. Silvia Santinelli, great to have you here.
Oh, Sonny, what a treat. So glad to be here.
My pleasure. All right, before we get into it, I want you to tell the story of really how this interview came to be, because it all started with a message on LinkedIn, didn't it?
Yes. In one way or another, we connected through LinkedIn. And about a month ago, I was going through some of the stuff that I had recently moved, and I was mentioning to you. So every now and then you look at the things that you may not need anymore, but possibly want to rescue. And your T-shirt, it was just right there.
This was a T-shirt at me that I had given to you.
Yes,
at North Star Mall.
North Star Mall, and this was a while ago, really, with my sister.
You were a college student.
We were yes. Yeah. We were in college. We walked into the mall. You were doing one of your public events, and I saw you from afar. You had a great crowd following you, and it was either she or I, but I was trying to explain to her. I think he's from 105.3. He's the host. Of a radio show there. And he said, yes, I remember we used to, in Mexico, we used to watch little bits of your show, You and Me Kid.
Yes, on the Disney Channel.
The Disney, yes, yeah. That's correct. And so we stood there really in awe, admiring and what was happening. It was such a unexpected, encounter for us. And then you walked, and you were so nice. You walked towards us. You looked at us and you asked, well, what are you ladies doing here? What do you do? And we mentioned to you we were pianists, and you went and grabbed one of those T-shirts. You signed them, and the message in there was just so lovely. And although I never got to wear the T-shirt, I tell you that has its own very special place in my closet. So I still conserve it. It's one of those. And for the audience who doesn't know, Sonny wrote to us, "May your life be a melody of song." So when I saw that again about a month ago, it just brought back some of these wonderful memories. It's such a special time that I met you, Sonny.
Wow. Well, I believe that nothing happens without a reason. and I believe that somehow we were meant to connect again.
Yes.
And now I was right about your melody and your life since then, because you have become now a classical concert pianist in a very, very big way. But I want to ask you about, you mentioned that you are from Mexico. Were you born in Mexico?
Yes, I was born in Mexico. I am a Mexican native. I was born in the state of Veracruz, in the port of Veracruz, where the majority of my family is from. Mm-hmm. Now, we grew up in Piedras Negras, which is across the border. And that's how the close connection to San Antonio was brought about.
I see. But when you were a child, when you were a little girl, at what point in your life, was it later on in life, or was it at a very young age that you had this connection with music?
With music, it has been almost ever since I can remember. I was enrolled in the music lessons when I was 5. And I believe it was around 7 that there was a teacher from San Antonio who came down to Piedras across the border to Eagle Pass to teach a few master classes. And so a group of students at the music school there in Piedras Negras went over along with our teacher. Mm-hmm. We played for them, and he gained interest in wanting to give us, education here and start preparing us for recitals, competitions, and he became our teacher here in San Antonio. So we would travel back and forth on weekends.
And it was always classical.
It was always classical, yes, Sonny. It was. You see, my mother was just loved opera, and if she had it her way, she would have loved to have done something with classical music. And the opportunity we had to enroll in these lessons in Mexico was probably mostly for her to fulfill a dream that she had about being able to surround her life with classical music. So she was definitely a big influence on making that happen. And yes, classical. Although I wouldn't. I mean, I love any other form of music as well. But that is where my training is.
Sure. There's so many performers that talk about how they have butterflies still, even though they're now professionals. And I think that's a good thing. It's good to have that feeling just before you go on stage that gives you a bit of electricity in your performance. Do you agree?
I agree. Yes, absolutely. And the task that we have is to definitely balance it out to where we understand that this is only going to help us to get us excited and motivated to do our best, and rather than take it in any other way,
sure,
which could if allowed be a negative emotion.
And I've heard you play. We're going to actually listen to one of your pieces in a bit. But I to me, the way that you play and playing classical music, to me, it's like ballet. It's not unlike a ballet performance where everything has to be perfect. And it almost, when you're watching a performer who's dancing, you marvel at what they're able to do perfectly, especially night after night or performance after performance. And I see that in what I hear in your playing. What is your mindset as you get ready for an event and to go out on stage, and even in competition as well?
That is a wonderful question, Sonny, because there's no doubt that the element of preparation it's just incredibly important here in preparing the mind. The more secure, in the many ways that you've prepared, and that doesn't necessarily just mean the approach to the piano, but rather the intention of perhaps even the composer, a time period that you are about to communicate to an audience, and the understanding and the way you internalize the piece and the added security that you can bring about to your performance, the better it's going to come out and the better you'll feel about it right before you're about to have that encounter.
I would also ask, there's got to be a point where you had a mentor or mentors who have brought you to that kind of preparation in your head for these performances. Have there been mentors along the way?
Absolutely. And every one of the professors that I've had the opportunity to learn from in their ways have communicated that sort of mental, the component of the performance that you have to have the strength of the mind and to be able to allow all of this to come out in the most successful way possible. All the preparation that you have to take control of that.
Well, I want you to take control of the keys in just a little bit as we listen to one of your performances coming up on the Sonny Melendres Show with Silvia Santinelli.
The Sonny Melendres Show continues in a moment with more radio encouragement. Don't leave now.
We're brought to you by Ideal Precision Roofing in San Antonio. There is no question about it. Ask homeowner after homeowner, and they'll tell you about their experience with Ideal. And as you know, we're coming up on, actually already in, hail season in South Texas. So in the coming months, you never know what might happen, and your roof all of a sudden is damaged, and you suspect maybe hail damage. It's hard for you to see what's going on up there. That is why Ideal Precision Roofing offers a free inspection. That's right. You make the call to 210-485-1553. An expert will come out. They'll actually go up on your roof, and they'll give you an assessment of what's going on up there. And if indeed you do have damage, they will then get the ball rolling with your insurance company. And you'll be surprised as to how easy the entire process is. And this is the one thing that Ideal customers say all the time. They appreciate the communication along the way. I mean, it's almost hourly. You do not have to worry about what is going on and how long it's going to take, and you'll be surprised right after it's done, it's like they were never even there. You've got a beautiful new roof, and then you too will be singing the praises of Ideal Precision Roofing. Give them a call for that free inspection at 210-485-1553 or visit them at idealprecisionroofing.com and tell them that Sonny Melendres sent you.
You're listening to the Sonny Melendres Show. Sonny's email address is sonny@sonnyradio.com.
My guest is Silvia Santinelli. She is a world-class, and when I say world-class, she has been around the world, concert pianist. And tell me about that. You have been to countries all over the world. Give me some of the places you've performed at.
That I performed, yes. Yes. Straight away, what comes to mind is a place I'll never forget in Russia. And this is about 45 to 50 minutes away from Moscow and Tambov. This was a summer retreat for Rachmaninoff, and this was during a Rachmaninoff festival. I've also been in the Czech Republic several times, and recently been to Portugal and Spain. Portugal performing. There were moments we were also visiting Switzerland, but definitely the one in Russia is just incredible.
And how are you received?
If you think of a moment, Sonny, that stands out in your mind about what is it that I want to do with my life? I would have to point back at that moment. And, I'll tell you a little bit about what was happening, and perhaps you might understand why. And out of the pieces that I was going to perform, there was this one was by Maurice Ravel. Called La Valse, and I wasn't feeling exactly quite ready.
Really?
Yes. It was actually a bit of a stretch for me. It was, I was going to 16, 17, and it was probably my first encounter with the composer. It was a 15-minute long piece. And so I remember that was the one where I wasn't feeling at my best. But what I do know is that after I finished performing the piece and it came to an end, I heard the applause and I realized that I had been performing. I was, in other words, I forgot.
Wow.
I was completely immersed in the music. And then the response, it was really overwhelming, and it really is. It's one of those times where I just said, I think I might be able to do this.
I can appreciate that, because when you hear that applause, when you know that you've hit the mark, that the appreciation comes back in that the roar of that wave of sound, of that wonderful love that they're giving back to you.
It's true.
There's nothing like it.
And yet, that wasn't exactly the reason why I was doing it. See?
Right. It was a bonus.
It was a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. How you got immersed, and all of a sudden where am I? What am I doing?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Almost like driving your car, But again, don't you think that goes back to the practice and the hours and all the work that went into that, coming to that point?
Without a doubt, Sonny. Without a doubt. But also, too, while we're preparing, I think that part of the enjoyment of this is to be able to find ways of connecting with the music, with the score, with the intent, finding out perhaps it's almost like a dive into a particular historical time period with its own individual customs and performance practices and connections, and not only musical but literary, and just understanding that side is wonderful. And then one of the most rewarding parts about classical music is that the moment you pick them back up again and you see them, perhaps you hadn't heard them or played them in a few years.
A piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pick them back up, and for one, remembering how it was, when it was that you played, and what it meant to you back then. But then also the what you're bringing in now, what makes it's almost a rediscovery of it, and not only of the piece and the way, but also the way you feel about it, and what all of that adds on to the preparation and the performance and communication that you'll have even with your audience. And I mean, it's just it's almost like thinking about a particular vintage and letting it sit there for a couple of years, and that wine will only taste better. What
a beautiful insight, Silvia. All right, so we're going to play a performance of yours that is a Ravel piece.
Yes, it is. It's a piece written by Maurice Ravel.
And tell us about it.
French composer. So yes, I picked this piece to play here for you and your audience, Sonny. The reason, well, at the time it was looking for something unusual to do. The competition was coming up to be able to play with the orchestra at UT. And I was familiar with the composer, for the reasons I told you about working on some other pieces.
Sure.
And I think I'd also noticed, and my professor did too, I had a strong left hand. I had not listened to it, but I really just fell in love with the richness of the orchestral sound and the rhythmic vitality. I was always up for a challenge, and learning the piece, yes, of course, went through all the necessary steps, slow, and just really trying to absorb the most for this new added unusual something I had not done.
And you're only playing with your left hand.
Exactly, and that was new to me as well. But back to the reason I wanted to share this is with the audience is definitely the lesson that we can always draw back time and again after coming from maybe a tragedy of losing somebody. I mean, in the topic of loss comes because I think of, well, it doesn't have to come to be that we lose somebody or, that we lose a limb, like in the case of Paul Wittgenstein. It could be just as simply as maybe kids going away to school. So what I mean by all this is that the response and to be able to adapt to a new reality.
Sure.
So back here with the reason this piece was written was really commissioned by this pianist. He used to be a pianist before he went to World War I. He was captured by the Russians in Poland and lost his arm. His arm got amputated. He's back home in Vienna, and he needs to continue. I mean, he wants to. I mean, it's in his heart and wants to continue being a pianist. And so,
and his name again is?
It's Paul Wittgenstein.
Okay.
And so he I think this is a great example of how he overcame this great obstacle, once maybe having to obviously adjust to the new reality, accept the reality, but overcoming with optimism and with music. And I think that many times attitude and it's just so important, and you might be able to expand on this as well because of the times that we're living. I think just really finding that spirit of resurrection that we know we have there, and following through after a tragedy with this wonderful creation that, honestly, I mean, it stands out there along with any other concerto in terms of its beauty and compositional style. So much to learn from a piece where you only use one hand. So
wow. All right. So the piece is called?
This is a concerto for the left hand, and it's in D major, and it is by Maurice Ravel.
Here is Silvia Santinelli. Silvia, what an amazing, amazing performance. And again, this is something that you learn completely with your left hand. It's almost like you have to turn off one side of your body, of your mind. What was going through your head while you're playing that?
Oh, I see, Sonny. What to do with your other hand, especially if you've always used it. So in the learning stage part of the process, it was very handy to be able to, to change the page with your right hand. Eventually, probably balancing, being on the chair and having control over your space. So for me, it was easy to do it that way. But think about Paul himself. You will use your feet to balance out as well as needed. But I think that there are so many wonderful compositional elements of the writing that allow for you to enjoy this piece as if you were playing with both hands. So the whole process to me it was quite just an amazing learning experience and the possibilities that one has to continue creating music. You continue to describe music, especially from your point of view, to us who are the lay people, the listeners, and yet you give us such great insight in how you explain it. It's very beautifully put. Thank you,
I really appreciate that. I have to ask you, in light of the situation that has come about since the last time you performed, since the last time I spoke in front of an audience, which is just a month ago, and all that has happened in the world, do you see that changing what it is you do and how it is you do it?
Well, what I see is this incredible opportunity to get back to, I'm afraid to use the word isolation, but it is at times that we need in order to internalize the works that we're either re-exploring. Yes, it for oneself. And in the case of what we do is to spend more time with these compositions and works that you have been wanting to learn and know more about. And so this is a perfect time to do that. I think it's also a perfect time to spend time with loved ones that we have at home, that we know we're usually just in a hurry to attend to our next event or our next meeting. And for people who have kids, in my case, I have pets that I hadn't played with and spend meaningful time with. Yeah. Meals, Sonny, I'm making meals and totally reflecting back on some of the recipes my mom used to make. And then approaching the instrument with a sense of peace and calm. And I know that there's a lot of chaos going on around, but this is really the best way that I personally can cope, and that I think that I will come out. If we can't really enjoy the springtime out there, I feel like I will have spring inside of me to think back years from now.
I must tell you, you are as poetic with your words and your thoughts as you are with your wonderful gift of music. And I want to thank you so much.
Sonny. Thank you so much.
For being here.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Silvia. Well, that's my conversation with Silvia Santinelli. You'll find all of her links along with more about Silvia at sunnyradio.com/show. That's sunnyradio.com/show. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Until next week, to paraphrase Silvia's beautiful words, may we all find the music in the springtime of our lives. Bye-bye.